Okay, good evening everyone. My name is G. Trulli, the president of TST, along with...
I'm Pierre, vice president of TST.
My name's Eric, Euro Auto and TST as well.
Basil Stratos, treasurer at TST.
Rich Peterson, secretary, TST.
So, we haven't been on for a little bit, but we're back. And it's the middle of the summer here, and we have for you tonight a scan tool shootout per se, just to see what the tools do. We have the OTC Encore. So, Rich, you can get back and start showing these. We got Rich on camera. We have, what your car, Eric, is this?
It's an 03 C240 Mercedes.
So, an 03 C240 Mercedes. We have OTC Encore. We're going to start with that first. We have the LaunchPad. And by the way, these two tools have been updated today. We have the Genisys Touch here in the back, also updated today. We have the older Autel. You know, we always wait for these companies to send us new stuff, but Autel did not do that yet. And we have the Snap-on Verus, which has the second newest update, and we do have a new update. They couldn't get it to us today, but Snap-on is here with the Verus. Now, it will take a little time to connect, we should say, sometimes the cables here. We already have this one booted up, and we'll explain as we go through on the car. If you have any questions at any time as we're going through, you want to see something on the tool, you want to comment or something, we're going to use the tool, see what it actually does on this Mercedes. If we have time, we'll bring in a Lincoln, right? Okay, so, here.
I have a comment on this. Rich, can you pan over, just show the charger? We have the car on a power supply. It's got to be a clean power supply if you're going to do coding and programming especially. And this is not just a regular old charger, it's a clean power supply. That way we don't kill the battery, obviously, and if we were doing something like coding and programming, we wouldn't damage a module.
And, you know, a little bit more on that, Pierre, that's a good point you brought up. That maintainer by Associated is super important to have on a car, because if we were running these scan tools on this car in this webcast, by the time we got to probably the second or third scan tool, that battery would be dead. Remember, there's a lot of onboard computers, so onboard computers will suck down the energy and your scan tool uses energy. So always have, like Pierre said, a clean maintainer. You could use this Associated one or Medtronics or whatever. Do not just use a battery pack. That's not a way to program a car or keep a steady voltage. You can run into some problems.
A note on that as well is if you're without a charger supply, the modules will start shutting off one by one to keep the main systems alive, so you get a lot of erroneous code from them.
Right, so you can come up, very good point there, with a lot of erroneous code.
By the way, not even erroneous codes, but the bigger problem is by running at low voltage like that, sometimes you can corrupt the memories in those computers, so you have kind of permanent problems until you do what I call a software reset, where you disconnect the battery and touch the two cables together.
With a 1 ohm 10 watt resistor.
With a resistor in between them to pull everything back down to zero, and so they reboot.
Okay, so now let's get going, and here, if you can hold that on the side of the tool,
got it.
you can put it right here. And we're going to select this C240. We already have it in there. We got maintenance test, engine, central gateway, climate, the combi, which is the instrument cluster, electric ignition switch control, Intel cruise control, parking, global OBD2, 7G Tronic, that's transmission, easy shift, and electronic gear selection. Now, it may not look at all of these, it may not work at all, we don't know. This is live, so God only knows what'll work and won't work. We do have the latest software. So the first thing I always like doing is when you're dealing with a car with a drivability issue, we should always go to global OBD2 first, even though we can get into OE. And the reason for that is monitor status. Monitor status is super important, meaning is the monitor ready or not? If a monitor is not ready, you can't get DTCs, right? So we need to make sure that the monitor is ready. We could also see that it's telling us what cable to connect to. We already have it connected.
And by
We're
the-
using a long cable. Did we explain that before?
By the way, one of the things we like to always say near the beginning of these scan tool shootouts, we are techs, we're doing this just like you would do in the shop, which is, nobody reads a manual, right? And we're just hooking up a regular OBD. Now we have an extension cable,
Right.
but we're hooking up a regular OBD cable to the OBD2 socket under the dash.
And this, okay.
And
Finish
the
your
last thing I
disclaimer.
wanted to say is, besides not reading the manuals, we're going to try to run through, you know, what modules these talk to, what functions we can access. We'd also like to see which ones of these tools graph, because graphing has become more important.
And all of them do. Now this cable, if you're looking for this extension cable that we have all the way back in the car there, this cable you can go to OBD2, that's OBDII2cables.com. They have a whole bunch of different cables. So that's what we're using, a free plug for those guys. The Encore here, we're gonna do check. We'll check the engine first here to see if there's anything. Global OBD2. Notice it's a touch screen, quite easy to use. Stay right over here. And we have different modes. The readiness modes, it tells us what monitors are ready. These are all ready. Not supported means it's not in there. And Pierre, maybe you could read some of these since
I could if
you've
I
got
put
good
my
eyes.
glasses on.
Never really worry about catalysts or
Okay.
misfire or the catalyst, misfire, or comprehensive component. They're always ready. They're ready to run in the
As
background.
soon as the thing gets cleared, it's ready immediately. There's a secondary air monitor, an evap monitor.
Cat, right? It's cat up.
I'm getting there.
It was cat up.
Oh, cat up top, right, I'm sorry. Fuel system monitor. Heated catalyst is not supported. This car doesn't have it. When we say it's not supported, that doesn't mean the tool doesn't support it. That means the car doesn't have it. AC refrigerant monitor, which I don't think I've ever seen a car that has that, but not support. It's not part of the car. And I think that's it, right?
Yep. So now that's oxygen sensor
down
monitor,
below, right.
EGR and oxygen sensor heater.
Right.
Now, the next thing to do is always look at the DTCs and see if there's any DTCs. I think I may have pressed the wrong thing. Pen, let's see. There's one of these things that have a stick on them.
Now,
Here.
Rich has a
So
plastic.
Here, try to plastic this will work.
Now,
Oh,
Well,
even
that's
better.
good.
one of the things that I like to always add, if you have a DTC, always read the freeze frame.
Exactly. And do not erase anything.
Don't clear it.
You know, nowadays we all have one of these. We all have a smartphone, which is a camera, right? So we need to make sure we take a picture. Yes, and my smartphone does work, just in case.
Just in
Okay.
case it goes through airport
Now-
security.
Since we looked into global OBD2, right away we know we got a P0471, 451, which is an evap problem. So that is something that's important. We can go back. I think I like my finger better. And we can look at something called freeze frame. Freeze frame, as Pierre said, very important. I don't know why it's
The
there.
first thing I look at after I get codes is freeze frame.
Yeah, this one maybe. What was that?
You know what it is? Some of these things need your fingertip. They can't
Yeah,
have.
I'm not sure. I don't think this one has a stick on it, actually. And this is just touchscreen. This is built off an Android base, by the way. So it's loading up. We have no controls. Gotta stop shaking here. Sorry. It's okay.
The DTs.
Reflections.
So it's taking its time looking at the freeze frame. Nothing we can do about it. This is the same thing that you would have in your shop. And we're gonna give everything, that's probably 10 seconds already, which feels like eternity when you're doing this thing live. And sometimes when I'm in a car, the worst thing you can do is keep hitting buttons.
Yeah, because you've just gone past whatever it was actually doing. You
So-
confuse it.
We're gonna give it about a minute. That's about a
A
half
lot of
minute.
these scan tools as well have the screen capture option, so you don't take a picture, it takes a picture of itself. And you store that to look up freeze frame or store the freeze frame or TTC.
And if they have a USB port, you can just put it on a memory stick.
And look right here, we have USB and a card that you can put it in. So it has that option, and this is not an expensive tool. It's very reasonably priced. Okay, so let's go back, and it says no freeze frame data found. Okay, that's unusual, but that's what it says, and that's we'll see what other ones. Now, you have DTCs here in this mode that we looked at. Let's just check to see if anything else comes up, double check it to make sure, and it comes up the same code, so tells us right there, 451. Now we're going to go to mode 6. You've heard a lot about mode 6. It says it may not be accurate if all the monitors are not ready. True of many vehicles. If you see 0 zeros on all the test results, the 0 zeros mean that particular system, mode 6, will not actually operate until the monitor is ready. A lot of the newer cars, it works perfect. You can look at some of my articles, by the way, in Motor Age magazine. And by the way, let's not forget that there is a Motor Age webcast coming up in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks. So mode 6, notice we got pass, pass. And these guys, I believe, decoded it. Yeah, there's the catalyst. And if you can read minimum and maximum.
Okay, for CAT Bank 2, value 4, max is 154. There's no minimum listed.
Try not to get your head in there.
Sorry,
It's okay.
my big fat head.
So we can see the big thing that you'd want to look at is look for passes are okay. If you see a fail, and notice I'm just scrolling, if I see a fail, that's where I'm going to worry. I don't have any fails. So that means the evap, if there's one here for evap, I gotta watch my head. There's cat, 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 cat. Oop. Lambda sensor, lambda,
Secondary air.
secondary air, EGR,
There's evap.
evap. So the last time it tested, even though there's a code in there, the last time it tested, it passed. Maybe the dude filled up with gas, left the gas cap loose. Now the gas cap's tight, and it did a pass. So this is a good indicator if your car is going to pass or not. So there's the generic function, and we're not going to try to teach you too much all in one shot. We're going to get out of generic, and we are going to go back into what they call maintenance tests. Let's see what they have here. We'll go down the list. Steering service. Reset steering angle. Well, we ain't going to do that. We want Eric to drive home. So it seems like it can go. So we have some of the stuff here. What engine is in this vehicle? 2.8 6-cylinder. So now we're going to look at the engine. It tells us what cable. Special warning. Please turn ignition switch on. Well, it is on. So now we can look in and do diagnostic stuff in the Mercedes-Benz software, and we're going to read DTC, see if it comes up with the same one we already had. Now again, you know, the time it takes is the time it takes. There's nothing we can do about it. And it's not bad. You do have to be patient. If you're using some other tests, no diagnostic trouble codes.
So that's interesting. OBD2 had a code, but the actual Mercedes, whatever they tested and had a code originally, Mercedes cleared it out of its memory right away.
And that could be
Good.
from the mode 6 pass.
There is no
Right.
check engine light.
Right, and there's no check engine light, right?
So mode 6 had the pass. It's in there in the generic OBD2 side, but it's not there to put a light on. We can look at, I didn't even touch anything yet. Let me go back.
It read his mind.
We can look at all system DTC scan, which is kind of nice.
That's like a health check, right?
Yeah,
This is
health
like a
check.
health check.
That's a real nice place to start if you have no idea what's wrong with the car and you want to really get a good picture of it. Not just whatever the customer told you, but you know, you're really trying to get a good idea of what the car's condition is.
And this is another thing you see, it says finding engine controllers, building list. It sometimes does take quite a bit of time.
Yeah, let me know how many controllers are in there.
And generally when you're doing a health check, this is the time I like to maybe walk around the car and look for other issues or, you know, whatever else I have to do. Because it's going to run for a few
Okay, it
minutes.
says select engine controller, select transmission. I'm not sure what it has, easy
I
share.
don't know.
So
There-
you have
there
to
is a-
know, I'm going to try.
There's a question?
Jerry, there's a question.
Okay.
The question is, do you know on the OTC Encore if you can clear all the codes while you're in that mode?
We're going to try that.
Okay, there you
There's
go.
a very good possibility. So the question was on OTC, if you went through the health check and you see the codes in there, can you clear them all out in one shot? Now, there are some scan tools out there that do that. Today I was working on a Mercedes, but I was using AutoLogic, and I can go in, do the health check, or as it's short test, as they call it.
Short test.
Which takes a
Never
million
short.
years. But it does a great job, and that is a specific tool for European cars. So right now, this is going through, and it says it's 20% done, and we're gonna see, we'll see if it erases everything. Don't know. I use this tool, I'd say a fair amount of time. I think it's a pretty good tool. In fact, all of these tools here have little pluses and minuses. But I did not look at these tools on this car, nor did any of us. Eric just hooked it up before, but we really didn't go in depth. We just wanted to make sure we had a connection to the vehicle. And if one of these tools does not connect to the vehicle, well, you just seen one that did. Okay? Are there any other questions out there while we're waiting?
Can the tool check code history?
It did that. It did that code history. It was showing us. Does it have a special code history? I didn't see that. But some tools have code history prior. But
That's only if the car manufacturer supports that,
Exactly.
and many do not.
Okay, so
Someone
we're
asked
done.
if it has a save mode.
Save mode?
How
Save.
many modules are there?
It should. Now here's the modules here.
Let me-
And you got to remember what we picked or didn't pick. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
It's giving us
6,
error codes,
7, 8.
error messages.
Yeah, but we didn't pick the right stuff. 9, 10, 11,
Oh, I
12,
see.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, about 18, 19 modules. But without picking the correct information on the car, it didn't automatically ID it. We're not getting the right information. So you would need to decode the VIN. You can use something like WorldPack or code the VIN, VIN decoder, I should say, and it'll tell you what size engine and what particular tranny is in there.
A lot of times you put in the VIN number, it actually decode it for you, a lot of scan tools.
The question, there was a
This one
question, a question is, was the code that came up before a pending code?
No, it was the code that came up before pending. It said, no, it was a regular DTC in generic.
You know,
Let's-
in OBD2, it can run, what, 30 drive cycles before it clears itself if it's clean? Could have gone 25 or something.
It's still in there. In other words, it can turn the light off after 3, and then the DTC could remain in there.
Point of-
Another question?
Go ahead. Question? So as we're waiting for a question,
Does the Encore automatically ID domestic modules?
well, we're not on a domestic car now. As far as me using it on a domestic, it seems to ID them. I haven't had a problem
I
with it.
think the newer the car, the more they
Yeah.
can ID.
The newer the car, the better. Now look here, we have, these are all the different groups that it has here, all data items. So if I click, let's hit go, or select.
There we go.
Okay, so 22 seconds it says it's going to take to load it. And we're going to see how many data pins it has. It's telling us there's no communication.
You know, one quick point of interest, when you did the health check, it
Is
took
the-
a minute and 20 seconds to run through 18 modules.
Is the Encore only OBD2?
No, the Encore, we're in specific. Right now, we're in specific
about-
Mercedes-Benz. It's not just generic OBD2.
Pre-OBD2?
Pre-OBD2, I don't know. I know the Genisys Touches comes with the old cables. I'm not sure what year this goes back. They can find that information on the OTC Bosch website. So this is loading, and sometimes there, for some reason, there may be an issue of pulling data up. So we'll wait and take some more questions.
It's not a question, it's a statement here that says some newer BMWs set a PO 440 as a permanent fault after clearing codes until the monitors run out.
I haven't seen that.
Here's a BMW expert. and he said he has not seen that, nor have I.
I'm not gonna say it's
I've never
impossible. There are some times when you think you've cleared all the codes and you have not.
So,
Somehow it hasn't really
I mean,
cleared.
you could be right. I have not encountered that. I work on a lot of new BMWs, but I have not seen that happen.
I knew.
Okay, so this thing is still loading. It's taken some time. I'm not, probably half a minute so far.
I know I get that out of it, so I know that's.
So Eric said he did, this is the one we hooked up. And he said it did get data, but we're trying to get data and it's not doing it. So we'll give it a minute. If it doesn't do it in a minute, we got
There
it.
was a statement on there that it will do pre-OBD2, but the cables don't come with it.
Oh,
So-
so you can get the cables.
That's a good thing. It'll do pre-OBD2, but if you have your older OTC stuff, your old connectors.
This thing is cycled off, or cycled the key. You know, sometimes a car with these modern systems, if they don't see
I'll wait for
activity
the cycle.
for a little while, they'll shut themselves off if they
Ready?
have a start button.
And we had the car on for a while.
Yeah, it could be that the car shut itself down.
Okay, so it says 21 seconds, started with 24.
That's why it timed out before. It kept looking and kept looking. Was it off?
No, it was on, but we turned it off. Sometimes just cycling, it kind of kicks
You
it
know,
back.
things can kind of go to sleep and you can't talk to them.
And if not, then you know you got to reboot the tool. Doesn't mean the tool is bad, but we're going to move on to the next tool if.
Yeah, and I
this
do know,
doesn't
I
do
do
it.
know it pulled.
Because we
data.
did have it before, and maybe as we cycle through different tools, we'll shut this one off, restart it, and pop back into that
And
later.
this happens all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, with PC-based tools, it's, you know, what I call a Microsoft moment. If it
Even
has-
though this is Android based.
even though it's not Microsoft, but I've used that term for years. The bottom line is, if there's some kind of a computer software problem, probably the first thing you should do is reboot it.
And when you tell me it's a minute?
It's a minute.
Okay,
Okay, so we're gonna put this
disconnecting.
aside, we're gonna hook up something else.
We're gonna hook up the Autel. So if you have questions, someone could reboot this thing. We'll give this to Eric in a second. We'll reboot that. Yep. Okay, so here's Autel. Just give it to him in the background, he can do it. Here. So we'll
It's all
reboot
for
that and check that back out later. So for you guys that have the OTC, it's possible. I've had problems with just about every tool that you see here for rebooting. And the MaxiDAS here, this is the older version. We're going to select European. We're going to select Mercedes, not Sprinter like Rich worked on today. And it's going to build this little list. Let's see if it comes up the same code. Here, you can use your hand on the other side to study it.
That's the
We're gonna do-
We'll study it.
Vehicle detect. Establishing communication.
I have a question.
Okay, and we're going to take
Okay.
a question while we're waiting.
There's a comment on
There's a function on that to reboot. Oh, you did?
Turn it
So it
off.
turned off and came all the way back up?
Yeah, you showed it up. That's gonna be like
14 seconds.
Okay, so here's
The VIN?
does not match the 17-digit number?
I don't know which tool we're talking about,
Correct?
so I can't.
Is it okay?
So it actually did a VIN ID on its own, and it's
The other one?
asking you, is that really what this car
Build
is?
date up to 08-2003 or from 09-2003. This is important.
Yeah. You get the wrong thing here, you're gonna have the wrong data, or
Up to 12/02, so up to 08-2003.
Yeah, yes. As to which
don't
one.
just punch
Please
buttons and go
select
past
steering
these
wheel
things.
left or right. Well, we're in this country, US, thank God, and it's on the left side. It is a little freaky when I was in Japan and the wheel's on the other side of the car. It's hairy when you gotta make a turn.
It's even hairier when you come back after driving that way and you end up on the wrong side of the road.
Hold it, that's after a good night.
You know you're
Okay, so we're gonna do auto scan. It says control units, but let's do an auto scan.
Which is a health check, same thing, same
And
different
here
word.
you go. So Basil was about 20 after up there on the little sweep pan, 25 after on the seconds.
It's a very fast one.
So we're going to see how long this auto scan takes and what comes up. In the meantime, we'll take any of your questions.
the beginning you stated the tool was an older tool. Do you know how far updated it is?
This Autel is updated to maybe 6 months ago. So the update is probably 7 months ago. We got faults in the electronic transmission control.
Now this tool is a 708, the new model is a 908.
Yeah. The new model is a tablet similar to that one down here, which will use the launch one net. Now, you know what? We'll use we'll use the launch one next.
How's your battery?
I got a new one, George.
So far, we're working on our 5th module. We have faults in 2 of them so far. 3 faults in the tranny module, and 1 fault in the electronic ignition switch.
And Basil is writing this down, so we're going to compare this to the whatever Launch says and Snap-on.
They want to know, the question, is the speed of the auto scanning determined by the scan tool or by the PCM?
Both.
And I would say, from my experience, more of the speed is determined by the car than by the scan tool.
Yeah. And that is a good point. Now, sometimes the way the manufacturer queries that information does slow stuff up. So, you know, and by the way, when you have a problem, and our friends at OTC Bosch, you know, I'll tell them we were working on this particular car and give them feedback on that. So the feedback they get, and this is important, when you buy a tool, you stop being, you know, and moaning to everyone. If you're being moaned to everyone, in the company don't know, they can't fix the problem. Please always report back to the company, and no matter what brand you have, OTC, Snap-on, Launch, always get the updates. Very important, because they fix problems that
Whatever they find out about.
That we told them.
Right?
Excuse me. Okay, so we're on module 12, and there's a lot of faults in this car.
Which I didn't know.
And how many minutes in are
2 minutes, 45 seconds.
And by the way, we're not going to erase the codes here yet, because we want to see if the other scan tools catch them or not. We'll do it at the end. And usually, you know, just by experience here, I'm an Autel user besides OTC and Snap-on and Launch and many other tools. It usually erases them out.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem with clearing the code. But you shouldn't do that again until you write everything down or take the picture, whatever you need to do. So we're on module 15, and how many minutes in?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, not bad.
3 minutes, 20 seconds.
So go get a cup of coffee or a glass of water or whatever it is, and then you come back and check it out.
A lot of times on different scan tools, also when you hit a health check, it'll say this could take up to 10 minutes.
Right.
So just something to think about. It
So
takes time.
if it's 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes, right? Any questions while we're waiting? Okay, we're on module 16.
By the way, that's another reason why you really, really need a power supply on the car, because look how long this is taking.
Good thing about auto scan too as well is you could upsell from that. One module also affects another.
Yes, now that's a good point, you know, and OTC Bosch were one of the first to put that auto scan out there, because as Eric said, when you do an auto scan, you're finding problems in other areas. Could be TPMS, could be air condition, and the customer don't even know this, but if you print it out or at least take a picture of it, email it to them, or whatever you got to do to get them a copy of it, guess what? That sells other work, and you're helping them out in the long run.
And you're doing a little CYA as well, because if they, heaven forbid, they drive away with that car and some light comes on and there's a problem, if you told them that this car already had the codes, they know A, you didn't do it, and B, it's a real issue. It's not just something you made up.
And by the way, that's that Friday night when you want to go home, and it's 6 o'clock, it's a nightmare, and the old lady's yelling at you.
Yeah, and
Or the
something
old
goes
man,
wrong.
whatever the case may be.
All right, G, we have a question.
Okay.
Do you find any of the scan tools that are particularly susceptible to ghost codes?
Okay, do we find any of the scan tools susceptible to ghost codes was the question. Well, yeah, I've seen just about all of them sometimes give you a ghost code. Another tool that we don't have in here that I use today to check out one of the scan tools is boy, now I forgot the name of it, is iScan. The iScan WT that we've done, okay, it's all done here. That we've done with other webcasts, we don't have the time to put it in here today. I've seen it pick up stuff that other scan tools didn't pick up. Or there's a problem that it's not there. So how many?
Keep going.
19
19
modules,
Okay. So let's escape.
which I think was the count for the maximum number of modules before, 18 or
Right,
19.
18.
There's another question, all right?
Control units.
On this particular tool, I'm assuming, battery life, printing capability, and wireless capability.
This tool
Okay.
does not have battery.
No battery. Wireless, I do not. Wireless, yes.
Yes, it does.
This has wireless. You can do some screenshots. You can connect to the through an Ethernet cable. You can also connect through USB. I have not printed from it myself. I'm not sure there's
I
any
have.
function.
It does have print function.
Okay.
Wireless printer.
Wireless printing. Okay, so he says it does have print functions. Let's go into Drive and see what it has as far as a code. So we're going to go into, not the transmission. Let's go into the engine. And let's read codes. No system faults. Let's see if it does live data. And remember, it took a little while for live data before. Let's see what live data is doing
There you
now.
go.
Seems quick.
Well, it's a lot of stuff here. Brake pedal, page down.
If you're in it,
There's not a lot here. This is not the engine data then. It did not select the right one.
Another question while you're doing that, how is the domestic application on the Autel and the Launch?
Autel and Launch domestically, these guys have done a good job. It's worked pretty damn good.
I remember on the last scan tool shootout, I was the one who used the Autel, and the bi-directional on it was nice. It was fast.
That was on the
It
BMW.
was on the it wasn't domestic.
That was a BMW on the Scan Tool Shootout that you can look up on our YouTube channel. It says no fault codes here in the engine module. Let's see. Live data. Let's see what it shows on live data. It's a pretty good tool. I can't say it's not. But we will compare all of them. What happens here tonight? Yeah, what happens here tonight is what happens. So, now here's all the different things here, but I don't see
You gotta
PIDs.
click on each one and it gives you PIDs per.
So basically you have to pick it and then it activates it.
Yeah, so these are small groups.
It's almost like data blocks in
Battery,
Volkswagen.
yeah. Battery voltage, oil temp, oil level, oil quality, and safety fuel shutoff.
Now, there's another good point.
In that list.
We'll pick another one, and then Eric, you can point something out. Okay, and notice it took a little time. Let's,
Now with all of these things, obviously each manufacturer of the scan tool makes the software a little different, so you have to get used to
all
it.
right, so here's more, oil level, whatever.
If you notice, it gives you a value. If it's red, it's out of spec or out of limit.
You can't say what you did. So red is out of spec or out of limit. That's a very good
Now,
point.
this car is not running right now, so
Right,
Yeah, so it shows temperature is out of spec, it's 129 degrees Fahrenheit because it's off.
and we have units here, and the battery voltage is, we're maintaining at 13.5.
13.5 volts.
Okay?
But as you notice, you can print because it's highlighted.
Yeah.
So you can actually, if it's hooked up, you can actually print the screen.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
and
nice.
another good function of this tool is, I'll show you in a second.
So there's printing, somewhere it's printing.
It's looking for a printer unit.
It's looking for a
We're
printer
gonna
that's not
cancel
there.
that. Okay.
The graphing function is very nice, very quick.
There you
You
go.
click on one, you get a bigger picture of each one. You could overstack them, merge them. See what it says merge?
A question is
There you go.
does the OTC have a print capability?
Yes, OTC has a print capability. Also, it has the graph. And we did have it up earlier. When Eric did hook that one tool up first, we're not sure what happened. It was sitting on the car for a while. So here, we're going to move on because of time. We're going to disconnect. We're going to throw in the launch. Now the launch, Eric, let's show them the dongle there in the picture. Do we have the dongle in the picture? This is a little dongle. Now the only problem here with this little dongle, it's beautiful, we're going to plug it into the cable.
But somebody might
Don't
leave it in the car.
in the car.
You gotta make sure
I
you
gotta
don't
yell at my guys. Don't leave it in the car. Okay, we're gonna hit diagnose.
So it's actually not a problem with the
How's that picture?
remote head.
Is
It's
that
a
okay?
problem with
I'm
us.
zooming in now.
Okay, so we're gonna hit diagnose. We're gonna do via Bluetooth. Select vehicle. We're gonna go to European. Notice it's very fast. We're gonna go to Mercedes. This is software versions. That's the new version from today. We're gonna hit OK. So this tablet is a real nice job compared to their old one. The Diagun was a pretty nice tool. And the old X431, the other one was GDS.
GDS.
It's another good tool if you have it.
Yes.
Just that this is more user-friendly with a bigger screen, I guess. Okay, so it says connecting.
Now with all of these things, obviously, we're used to waiting, but I think
Okay.
that the newer cars with the newer computers
All right.
are faster than the older
Upgraded
cars with the older
failed. I'm
computers.
not sure what that means.
They didn't like the new software version.
Let's go back, do select vehicle, Mercedes-Benz. Let's try. It's nice when you leave two versions on there in case one don't work. Just got downloaded today. Maybe the file got corrupt. Not sure. And we can pull this file out of the way. Okay, upgrading will take 2 minutes.
So we can talk for 2 minutes.
Okay.
Any questions?
Now see,
Not-
now
not-
this is what happens in the real world.
Right.
Because guess what? If you were working on a car and you updated the tool like I did today, and you haven't used it on a car, maybe when it says updating, it's updating this dongle. I don't know. I'm not sure what the updating actually means. It's not telling us. But the real world is, because we're doing this live, we're not recorded, this is what really happens.
And by the
So-
way, it always happens the most when the customer's waiting, you have other things to do, and the phone's ringing off the hook.
But hold
right?
it, Pierre, we're waiting. The Yankee game is on.
Yeah, that's right. And they won last night. Let's hope they can do it
By
tonight.
a miracle.
Yes.
But anyway, we
Question?
want to see if there's any other questions.
The question, but it's
Okay.
irrelevant.
So we're just waiting. It's about a minute away. It says 50% done. Also, you got to remember when we're dealing with these different vehicles, some scan tools work better on some vehicles than other vehicles.
That's the question.
Yeah, they
But
have strengths and
Look,
weaknesses.
this was a car that Eric drove here tonight. We didn't particularly take any car. We didn't want to use the same vehicle we used before. We've never used this vehicle in a webcast. It's like a car coming in your shop.
Yeah.
Now, not everyone is as fortunate. I have the factory tool, I have AutoLogic, I got the iScan WT, I got all these tools you see behind me, the Launch, the Verus, the OTCs. Well, if you have all of those, when one doesn't work, you just switch to another one. But the real world is, you need at least 2 scan tools in your shop, minimum. At least 2. So, and don't do one of these like I did a class in this guy's shop. He had a Snap-on Solus, which is a very good tool. We don't have it here tonight. But rather than buying, and he had it updated, rather than buying a different brand, he bought the Snap-on Verus. And I looked at him and go, why would you have the same company? The software is going to be the same. If you have a Snap-on, maybe you want to buy a Launch. Maybe you want to buy an OTC or with any other company. Why? Because guess what? No one is perfect.
There it is.
And they're
it's
gonna
ready
make
to
a
go.
problem.
Yeah, and by
Now-
the way, that's true even of factory tools. Nobody has perfect scan tools. They all have issues.
Now, I'm going to go back home for a second here, or back. I want to see if that also hooked up to the newer version software. Okay, not sure. So I'm going to try 4.7.
And while he's doing that,
Just for the head.
one of the reasons we
I
did
did it. There you go.
So it didn't like something before, now
Well,
it's ready
it
to
probably
go.
had to do the dongle. I would say, you know, I do know on the Touch and on the OTC, the other OTC, the Encore, it did ask me to upgrade the hardware. And the Delphi tool that we're not using because it don't work on the European car, I updated that one today. It did not do that. So we're going to select
Select by enter.
This
by
is the
VIN. It says now it's reading the information captured. Okay. Oh, and Eric was nice enough to
Eric
take
took a picture of the VIN tag.
And by the way, there is software also.
Oops.
Okay.
There you go.
There's software, barcoding software that you can put on your phone to scan, and MotoLogic is some software that's out there that is going to be putting that in and working through WorldPack, which already has VIN decoding, which is quite nice.
And it'll tell you everything on the car.
Okay, input VIN number. So who wants to type? Here you go, Eric. You got good eyes?
I'll read it up.
Okay.
William David,
Whoa,
Bravo.
I accidentally, how do I go back on this? It's not that, that's
Go
empty,
with-
right?
There you
There you
go.
go. William David,
So you have that, William David.
Yeah,
Baker Robert,
You want to hold the tablet? It's
Frank.
okay.
yeah, I can't see it. It's too large.
This is what happens as we
William
get
David,
younger.
Baker, Robert,
Frank,
notice the glasses.
Frank,
And one Frank, right?
yep,
Okay,
81,
how do we get to our number? There we go. 81.
And see, there could be a little bit
Jerry?
of
J,
stalling of
7,
time when you're not used to how things operate on the tool.
Frank,
No, no,
So
7,
you're
3.
always better at it. It didn't
Right.
automatically
3-8.
capture the VIN. Some tools do, some
3-8,
tools
yep,
don't.
3-8,
It didn't on this car.
3446.
And this car
Read
being
that back.
William-
WDBRF81J73F383446.
Correct.
and don't go trying to steal the car tonight, will you?
We hit enter.
Take it.
All right, now it says up to 803, and that was correct, remember?
Yes.
It's a C-Class.
Yep.
And it tells us the year. We're going to hit OK. And automatically search.
Sorry, I had to put my head in the way there, but
It's always nice to do VIN because you know you got the proper
Switch on
equipment.
right.
Okay, so now it's going to do its checking through the different modules.
And by the way, that's nice when the scan tool does the automatic VIN decodes. That's a nice feature. Saves you having to do that.
Okay, so system name, complete, and it's telling us what failed. This is its health check. Pretty quick so far. And remember, we had 19 modules, I believe?
19 was the, yeah, that's
19
right.
on the Autel, 18 on the OTC.
There you go.
8% complete.
Now it's going to take a little while to go
I got
through
tired
this.
of counting.
The idea is, when I do this something
Forgot
like
about
this,
the clock.
I like to have something else to do at the same time, whether it's checking lights or whatever
Would
on
you
the
like
car.
a cup of coffee right now?
Have a cup of
Sure.
coffee. Yeah, here you go. Let's have a cup of coffee. And you know, that way you're not bored looking at the thing. Do something else.
Right.
Come back to it.
Almost shows you.
14% done, and it's telling us what's good, what's bad, okay, or failed. We got a couple of failed units already, and it's looking good. So we'll take any questions you have. And again, as we're waiting, want to remind you, Pete Meyer from Motor Rage will be up here in August. Do you remember the date, Doreen?
21st.
August 21st, Thursday night. We're doing this with Champion, I think, or Federal Mogul with Champion Spark Plugs or something. Some ignition webcast, absolutely free. Check your emails out. And we always like feedback from you guys. If you have a question, like to see something, and
And
Again?
comments too.
comments.
Got a question? Do
Question?
you have the new Autel MS908P?
No.
We don't have the new one here. Eric does have one himself. And you can say what you feel about it.
It is a little faster and it definitely does a lot more options to it.
So he said it's a little faster and does a lot more than the older unit. So that's a comment there. We're 22% done, and we have quite a few. I think it's going to let us go to the next page once this gets down there. Nine, yep, now we're on page 2.
And it's cycling through, right?
A question, Jerry?
Yep,
The failures that are up there, is it easy to get the code, code, or do you have to go into a different page?
Okay.
We'll find
The
out.
failures that are up here, is it easy to get the code? Usually you click on it and it'll tell you. And we're gonna do that right after we're done. We'll see.
It brings you right to the module.
Yeah. And then that's when it says code.
I have a question that says, beyond the codes, how's the coverage for programming?
There's no programming in any of these tools here as far as there's coding, but there's not really programming. You would need, at least for the European car, Auto Logic, which is a very good tool. Starts at about $12,000 or $14,000. You can check autologic.com.
Or you'd have to have a pass-through tool and go to a website.
Right, a J2534, which you can do with the OTC one in the background.
Autel.
What about-
doing it through your device as well.
And Autel's doing it through the new
908.
908.
Question about bi-directional controls.
Okay. Bi-directional controls, very important on a scan tool. Experience in the past with all of these tools that we have here, we're 48% done, is that these all do a pretty good job with bi-directional control. Now, caution, if it doesn't ID the computer itself, like giving you either the VIN number, let's say for engine, or the calibration code for the particular module, let's say it's the body module, be careful performing bi-directional control. I'll give you an example. I had a Lexus a while back. I'm not going to mention the scan tool that did it, but thank God I had the Toyota factory tool. Because when I went to go move my moonroof, it stayed partially open. Would not close no matter what. Had the latest software in the tool. The other thing was when I did my steering angle, well, my steering wheel was totally crooked and I wouldn't have been able to drive this car, okay? Because what happened is the software wasn't correct. And I went in multiple times. I used the old version software, I used the new version. Now since then, since that problem, I reported it to the company. It took about, I'd say a month or so. They had a new update and it worked. So there's always possibilities.
Yeah, by the way, what he's talking about is when you get into a module, go to that page that is ID or info or whatever they label it, and it'll show you the module number, maybe sometimes the serial number. It'll have 4 or 5 lines, whatever it is, of data on that module. If it sees that and it's accurate, then you're probably okay. But if it's wrong, back out.
Or doesn't come up,
Or it
be
doesn't
very
come
careful.
up. Yeah, back out. Don't even go there.
Question, the Autel 708, does it do mode 6?
Yes.
The Mode 6 on the 708? No.
I believe it's right.
They were going to put that in, I don't believe, on that version that has Mode 6. I think the new one, the 908, they were working on Mode 6.
I know the
How about a date or mileage when the code was first set?
Most of them don't have that.
Mileage they may have, that's a function of Mode 6. Date, not many of them use that. We're 82% done, and we got 3 pages.
We're gonna have to go through modules.
Well, what they're doing here, they're looking through every module. Not every module's on a car. So their software, what they must be doing is listing, because there's 4 pages of stuff here.
So they're looking at every module this car could potentially have in any country. And then it'll...
There's 9 per page, that's 36.
When it fails to see it, it'll time out testing for some module. You know, when all the BMWs, you'd see it go through Japan radio, convertible top module on a hardtop, or things like that.
And by the way,
It has to go through them before it says, nope, not home.
And by the way, the factory tool does the same thing.
Exactly, right. They all do it that way.
So it's better when they query everything, because just in case it's on board, it picks it up.
Right.
Because people can put different modules in, or they can have different, they want delayed wipers, or different lighting, or
Somebody
whatever.
upgraded to some option that wasn't in the build list.
94% done.
7 minutes. But that's not bad, because it's looking for everyone.
Well,
And we don't know what it's putting together here. It might be putting together everything as it does that scan.
that's 4 times 9. See, now these here that have this explanation mark, cellular, door module, exclamation point, and we are done.
Done?
Yeah, we're done.
7 minutes, 40 seconds.
97% done, excuse me.
Almost done. We're not quite well done yet. Medium well.
And I'm going to try one of these because you asked about the code. Now, it's not 100% done, but let's see. No,
It won't really-
100%.
There you go.
So finished.
100%,
Okay, so
8 minutes.
here it's going into the module to failure.
It has a fault in the tranny.
Yep. And here it's coming up. And switch ignition on. Boom. Search in non-can system. Please wait.
Don't you love it when it says, please wait, like you're gonna do something else?
And by the way, sorry. By the way, you know, we didn't select the European car for any other reason than Eric drove this in tonight. So, you know, in case someone's thinking, oh, we selected this car to make, you know, a particular tool look bad or good, we did not. This is, you know, 5 technicians that work on cars to see what works and doesn't work, just like you'll encounter in the shop. So we're waiting to see if it connects.
Jerry,
Yeah.
question, explain the reason clearly why we're using the clean
The
battery
maintainer?
maintainer.
Okay, the reason why we're using the associated clean maintainer, once again, we said this earlier, is first of all, we're 50-something minutes in to this webcast, and querying these computers, there'd be a problem. We would lose the battery, we would lose the battery power, and we'd have a problem. We notice from past experience, or anytime working on a car, put a maintainer on it so you don't lose anything.
We got a communications thing, I just asked Eric to cycle the key again. Now, by the way, we say clean, that means it can't have too much AC on the DC charge, and it also can't fluctuate in its voltage too much. The idea being, computers I like to say they like to drink clean electricity. And as soon as you start corrupting that electrical power to the computers, you can get unintended consequences. You can go way down the yellow brick road before you find out that you actually caused the problem with your power supply.
Okay, yeah, good info there. Now we had another module that would not go into, we're going to try something else here. We're not going to clear codes. Let's go to ABS and let's see what's going on. Okay, so, you know, this may be a tough car. We had issues so far with 2 other tools.
All right.
Did it say how many modules actually
It just
were there, or
it just did 36. And how many were on there? We didn't really count.
Hard to tell.
You would have to, you know, it would take a bit of time, but it at least queried 36, looking for it.
Okay.
I'll try to go back, but it's trying to.
So it
enter the
seems to be
ABS
it
system.
seems to be timing out. So this vehicle maybe is a little tough for some of these tools to talk to. Now, or it could be going to sleep though. Eric doesn't think it's going to sleep, right?
No,
I think it's
you get
stayed.
better than
No, I
But you
mean,
turn it on and off sometimes.
sometimes the modules go to
Yes,
sleep when they
correct.
see no activity for a while.
Do you
Correct.
think launch works better on domestics?
Do I think launch works better on domestics? It's tough to say. We're using it on this car tonight. You would have to really use it. I've had good luck with launch on domestics. I've had good luck with all of them on domestics. There's not a tool here, as I said earlier,
I've seen it.
that doesn't work. Okay, so we're done with this. I'll try going back and seeing how many modules, just for the hay of it. 1 of 5 pages.
I just want to see if it came up with
Now
check.
it
I
threw
just
us-
came up with all of them.
It threw us out of this. Okay, so we're gonna pull this tool out. And again, this is real world, guys. This is what happens. Well, let's get this out. Let's go snap it. Where's the snapper? You need the other unit. Oh, you have it on the floor. Okay, so with the snap-on unit, this is the snap-on Verus. I may have to do a battery switch. This kind of stinks. There's a battery. Let's go with OTC while we do a battery switch. You see it on the side of the box? Okay, here. You're going to connect this into here. Side of the toolbox, right there. You'll see a long skinny battery. We do a shutdown on this.
Now, of course, if you were using this tool in your shop every day, you'd have it,
This comes out, stick the new one in, stick that back in the truck. Okay, so now we're gonna go back here.
you'd either have a spare battery or you wouldn't let it go dead. You'd leave it plugged in when you weren't using it, of course. Right? Most guys put the power supply right on their toolbox or on the bench.
Get to this. Yep. Okay, so I'm selecting,
We're into this? Oh, okay.
I'm going to the main menu, the diagnostic hub. Yep, that's the hold it here.
Yep.
I'm gonna do start new. And let's do auto ID, see if it'll do it. It says unable, and let's pull up the little pod, make sure the pod is on. Okay, it tells us unable to connect to the vehicle. So now we may have to do manual. And here's the little pod that we were talking about.
Hold on. Hold that pot up. I'm zoomed in on, that's it.
Okay, so we're gonna have to do manual ID. And what year is it? 03. 03. Okay, gotta get this out of the way.
Right, right.
03. We're gonna go to Mercedes if I can find it.
Sorry, go back. Where's the back? It went to Audi because I was trying to scroll it.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh.
Back.
Back.
One? We're not putting the back.
Okay, 03. You gonna touch it?
Sidebar,
that's on my
sidebar,
screen.
sidebar.
Oh, there. Okay.
So you need Mercedes. Okay. and
CT40.
Right here? And we're gonna go formatic or base?
Formatic.
Formatic. So this had a little bit more information to pick, which makes it a little more helpful. We're gonna go right here to, has a whole bunch of stuff, but we're gonna go to maintenance test and see what this thing does. This has the steering test like their other one did, steering calibration. We're gonna cancel that. We're gonna go into engine.
Does it have a health check?
Here's the 6. Does it have a health check? It should.
does.
Let's see if it comes up. Okay. Let's read DTCs. Here's the all system DTC scan up top. So when I hit it, then I'll let you know. Unable to connect the vehicle.
We're having issues communicating with every tool. Makes
all
me think it's
system
not the tools.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this is going through a bunch of modules.
We've already cycled the key, yeah.
Easy shift. Controller, don't know. So now it's going through a bunch of stuff on this health check. So now it's starting to build stuff from the engine, reading DTCs, 25% done. Seems pretty quick.
Wow. If it's doing the same amount of modules.
Well, we'll find that out in a second. 46%
The
done.
comment was if it's doing the same amount of modules. We don't know that till it's done.
Well, let's see if we can read any data PIDs. Now, earlier, we were able to read data PIDs with the Encore, but on camera, we could not.
You're up?
Here we go.
There you go.
So we have, here, can you count them down and I'll scroll? You got them?
Yeah. 6, 7, 8. I lost touch of what that was.
Okay, try to remember your last one.
Yeah.
You ready?
I have to sit it down button. Okay.
You're messing up.
Do it yourself, Pierre. Hold it
There you
up.
go.
We have to
Okay.
let Pierre do it himself.
Yeah, because that's how we really work. We're looking at it directly, right?
It is difficult. Now that came up pretty damn quick.
26 seconds.
26 seconds. Now, we're gonna see how many controllers are reported on. Any number, Pierre?
It's 19.
19 controllers.
That's what we had before.
Now, let's see if we go into one. But some communication failures here.
You may have to tilt it up a little bit. I think you might be getting it there. There you go.
By the way, I don't know if you guys out there or whoever's on the web have this problem. I find especially touchscreen computers are very sensitive to the angle, viewing angle, overhead lights. Sunlight really messes with you. Sometimes they're very hard to read. Even before the sun makes them shut off from heat.
Okay, so I couldn't get into any of them. I banged on it a couple of times. Lost communication again.
A question is, do any of these work on heavy-duty vehicles?
There is for this, and the other OTC does heavy duty. You gotta buy the license for it, the software, and it does a decent job on heavy duty. Any other questions?
Not yet.
Let me go back.
So we're having trouble communicating with most of these tools. It makes me think it's not the tool,
Maybe
it's
we
the
should try
car.
the Lincoln.
Let's try the other car.
Well, we gotta do snap on this for fairness.
Okay.
Someone's commenting, it says hold up the module, you only have the power light, no communication light.
Oh, that is true. There's no communication. Now, we're not connecting to this via Bluetooth. Very good. You know why? Hang on. Someone hit Bluetooth. So, whoever said that,
Wait a bit.
Good sharp eyes.
Eric said that, yeah.
well, thank you, Eric. Because I didn't even know it. Not you. A real Eric.
Thanks a lot.
A different Eric.
A different.
So, very good. I didn't catch that. And I didn't see this is off. Now, I'm trying to connect. The Bluetooth little light has to be on. It's not going on.
That's how good the picture is.
Now, yeah, the picture's good. Now, by the way, obviously with any of these tools, know the tool, use it on healthy cars as much as possible, get used to using it.
There we go. Now we're on. That should be on.
I personally prefer a wire to any kind of a radio link.
There you go.
Nice.
Okay, we're on there.
Now let's see if we can get communication, huh?
That helps. Good eye.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll find the control of building list. Now we'll do
See
a
if we
real
can
quick.
actually talk. Now, I wonder if some of these other tools had a link issue as well, that we weren't set up right.
No, those.
No, those are
They
wires.
were all wired, right? There's no issue with talking to the wire or talking to the...
I think somebody is asking the question, the cost of all the scan tools that we've been using tonight, the total cost of them.
We don't get into cost. We say thank you to the company.
Now this,
Okay, so now it is kicking butt, reading through, but I don't see that connection. We do.
the light is off again.
Bluetooth went off again.
So somehow we're losing Bluetooth.
Yeah, that went off. So it was on before, that's how we got some data. But for some reason, now see little snafus like this, we can connect by cable. It says connected. I'm gonna hit close.
Oh, it's on again.
I'm gonna hit close. I'm gonna do rescan. Now look, it's on. It's on,
And it's blinking.
and that's on. So here we go, Eric. Basil.
Now, we talked about programming a little bit. One of the reasons I don't like wireless is because you don't want to be caught in the middle of, a programming operation. Whenever I do any kind of programming, I don't use any wireless. It's all got to be wired. And any PC I'm using is on an uninterruptible power supply. I want to
Yeah.
make sure that it stays on.
And if you go back to one of our old webcasts that we've done, we actually did one with the Genisys, the OTC, Pegasus.
Right.
And we had to wire it. We did not do it wireless. We did not do that wireless.
And it's because we just, maybe I'm too old and I don't trust this technology yet, but I worry a little bit about the possibility of losing communications in the middle of a critical operation. When you're reading codes, you're probably not going to harm anything. But when you start doing programming operations, you can definitely hurt computers. They may not be savable sometimes. Coding operations, usually you can redo them another time. Fix
And
it.
you know, while we're waiting, I gotta say, both OTC units, I have them on automatic. We have Wi-Fi here in the training center. They connect quite easily and update. It let me know that this needed a firmware update, and the firmware updated without a problem. So, pretty easy, we're all done. Let's see what we got here. I'm gonna hold it and count it. Sorry to take it out.
And that was good for whoever observed that, the other Eric.
The real
The real Eric. Because none of us was actually looking at the light on this module.
But it's not giving me any information on any of these modules. It says pass group, so I'm gonna try to go in.
What's the comment?
The glitches are affecting the effectiveness of the presentation.
The glitches are affecting the effectiveness of the
Well, all we
That's
can
true.
say is this is real world, like we said before.
Exactly what.
And these things happen to us in the shop all the time, right? Now, maybe this car is just fighting us, you know? Sometimes you have one that has trouble
It's the first
communicating.
time use of the tool as well.
Right.
No, I used this tool before. So there's communication error. We're going to kind of give up on this particular tool and switch over to the Snap-on tool. Let's get this out. And again, when we say real world, it's real world. Pull up the Snap-on module.
That's why you need two scan tools.
Oh, hold it. Did you give me the wrong one before?
Now, we have it.
Oh, did we have this hooked in
You
here?
just had that configured. You have it right.
You sure?
Positive.
We'll try that back in a minute.
Because
We'll
you
check
had
it off.
power on that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were communicating.
The pod is off now? There's no power to it?
Yes, that's correct. It's off.
Okay, so we're gonna go to scan. Put a little boot cover on here so nothing blows up. We're gonna go to vehicle selection. We want the full list. We're gonna go down to Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
2003, Eric, is that correct? Of course, if the eyeballs can see it. Let's do an auto ID, see if it does it. It's scanning through the system. So we apologize for taking some of your time, but again, we did say this is real world.
And again, when you do this stuff day to day, you're not going to be using 6 different tools or whatever. You're going to have one tool you're very familiar with. You know what gives you trouble and what doesn't, which vehicles it's happy with and which vehicles it's not.
And some of these earlier Mercedes are a little bit of a bear on, you know, scan tools connecting to them.
And by the way, every
Okay, now this
every
one did a nice
manufacturer
job.
has issues.
Yes, this did a nice job at least connecting so far. Okay, now I don't see a health check, right? So let's hit engine. So how many of you out there have this Snap-on tool? I bet quite a few. Let's see what codes. Went into engine pretty quick. We got a fuel tank pressure sensor. Now this can go to Short Track, which is their online type thing, where you can get the information. Let's go to data. Let's go to oil information. And so far, by far,
It's fast
it's
and
pretty
it's working.
damn fast. You can graph stuff. Look at that. That's pretty damn good. We can go back. We can go to something else. Engine running values. The engine's not running, but you get the idea. Hey, look, that's some information that came up very quick. So I would say, you know, I don't know,
Pretty nice, and you can select stuff and graph it. Very nice.
pretty damn fast. Let's do upstream
They did a
Lambda.
good job, because we've seen, you know, everybody's software. It all depends on software. This one looks like a good update.
And by the way, this is not the latest version. I just spoke to Jim Moritz today.
They couldn't get it to you in
And,
time.
you know,
It's
he
one
was
step
flying
back, right?
somewhere, so, and has special functions, relearn procedures, fuel tank leak tests, and it's flying.
Yeah.
It seems to,
Can you go into global
let's see what global.
and see if they do a health check in global? I'm surprised they do a health check.
Well, let's see if it even comes up with that other code we found.
Yeah.
And that'll answer a question of erroneous codes or not.
Patient.
In global, theoretically, they're all supposed to be correct, because there's not supposed to be any differences between manufacturers. But I said theoretically. We all know that that's not always the way things are in databases. This is global we're going for? There you
We're gonna
go.
look for global, so we want to hit back.
Doesn't like back. It's a forward-looking scan tool. It doesn't go back.
Oh, what's that going back? I can go back here. Let me just take this sideways here, so maybe a little easier. System menu is all here. Wheel alignment, service intervals. Where do I? Oh, let me go home.
Yeah, hold on.
So going to generic
I can
requires
go into-
getting out of the specific
Oh,
vehicle
OBD2
completely.
health check.
There we go.
Okay.
You had to get out of the car completely for that, right?
I did.
Yeah, you have to get out of the car completely for the generic.
And let's see if it comes up. We had a P04 something?
Right.
441,
50?
I can't get to it.
Oh, you're right. Oh, it's buried.
It's buried.
Okay, let's look at codes. No trouble codes. Let's look at pending. 4051.
451.
451. Well, I think that was the same
That
one we
was
had.
it, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I was off a digit when I remembered it, but that's right. So that's a pending code.
So when it did a global, okay.
Yeah,
So the
but
global was just ECM, was just engine
Yeah, global is not OBD, that's why it's not coming up with the codes.
with everything else.
Well, global OBD should come up with it as a pending.
Right.
But
But
when
what
you're
I'm saying
doing a
is-
health check on under the car, you're not gonna get it.
Right, you're not gonna get it. So this one didn't have a health check, at least for this specific model.
Right.
Okay.
no, doesn't look like it. Yeah, if I just go back into Mercedes, just to see from here with that 2003. Auto ID really went.
Quite quickly.
Fast.
So you be the judge out there, we just showing you. We're not gonna give our particular opinion, but hey, it is what it is. You've seen this stuff firsthand yourself.
And we are all opinionated, don't get me wrong. We want you to make up your own mind.
And again, this is on one car. So maybe you like the blue one, the gray one, the red one, it's all up to you. Yeah, see, it has no generic. You can
How
go
many
in,
modules does it have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16.
Okay.
And for the hell of it, let's go into brake system. And they can get all of them, just pile them up here. You want to try that little, do you have the little Pegasus one there? Not Pegasus, the Encore? Just to plug that back in, is that rebooted?
Yeah, shut off.
Okay, just hit the button. Okay, so it didn't work on the brake, but let's plug. We're going to try the Encore one last shot in. So we thank these manufacturers for letting us play with their tools. We're going to go to vehicle bay and see if we can get any data. And now we know the car is live. I'm going to go back to this Mercedes. We're not going to do health check. We already did that.
Go to engine.
We're going to go to engine. We're going to hit 2.8. We got the plug in. Let's turn the ignition on. Let's go to data. All groups, all data items. It says 24 seconds away, 20 seconds away. Let's see what happens. And we'll be ready to roll. So about 15 seconds. It says reading values. I see stuff in the background. And data is there. Okay, so again, sometimes you just need to reboot your scan tool. It does have data. It does have,
Click on one.
you know, click in a little box.
And then expand it.
Gotta put this out of my hand. Where did we get this one from? And look at that. We can make it. We can make it nice and big. So again, sometimes you just got to reboot your computer. So if you have any questions,
Can you get the OBD2 codes on that? So can you go
Yes,
back and see
we-
if it has the
we
OBD2
did.
codes?
We can go back. Let's see what it says on OBD2. Maybe we were mistaken at first, and this had a pending code and not a code.
Right, and we didn't look for pending.
So I didn't really take full attention. Let's see what it says. You can still see pretty good up there. And we thank you for joining. We'll be finishing in about 5 minutes here, right after we wrap this up. We thank you for your time. Don't forget to email us. Go to our website. We have a fuel sensor, P0453 fuel tank pressure, and it has the OE code of P201C100. But it doesn't say, this is in manufacturer specific. Let's go back into generic. I'll take one back.
Global, right in the middle. Middle top row.
Thank you.
Well,
Global, right in the middle.
my eyes actually do work. That's the only thing left.
We charge don't necessarily all the time.
No. Getting younger. It
Yeah.
definitely isn't help. Okay, so let's look at DTCs. So this is a generic thing we looked at before, and this pulled up pretty quick. And here's the P0451. It does say it's a system, and oh, it does say pending.
Down below.
It does say pending. So it did.
Right.
Good job. So we had to give it its little recheck. So, and anyway, we thank you for coming back. Let us know what you'd like to see. We'll be doing another scan tool shootout. We'll be doing some other short, different videos. And again, thank you for bearing with us, because we know your time is precious. We took an hour and 20 minutes of your time. But hopefully, through this webcast tonight of comparing OTC, two different ones, the Genisys Touch, the Encore Genisys, the Autel, the older version, the Snap-on Verus, and the new launch tablet, the X431, you can make an educated decision on what tool you'd want to try. But we do give you the word of caution, depending on what car you have, some tools have strength and weaknesses in that area. So, from New York, good evening, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.